Hey folks, it's Mark with Fire Mountain Outdoors. Thanks for joining me today. Hey, ever since I finished this steampunk rifle build for my wife Jennifer, you guys, a lot of you have been inquiring, hey, how did you do that Battleworn finish? And I thought, you know what? Now would be a great time to make a tutorial of that, since I have this other rifle that I thought was going to be super cool when I got done, and it's just missing something, and I think the Battleworn finish is actually going to work well on this. So if you stick around through the break, I'm going to talk you through the pros and the cons and the do's and the don'ts, and we're just going to get started and apply that finish to this rifle. Chances are, if you're watching this video, it turned out well, because if it turned out bad, I'll just be crying in a beer somewhere. Stick around. Well, first, we really need to look at the pros and cons of using a Rattlecan Rust-Oleum type paint like I use on this finish. The pros would be it's really cheap and inexpensive. You can go to your Home Depot, pick this paint up, $3 or $4 or $5 a can. You're going to need a couple of them, so 15, 20 bucks will cover all of your materials. So it's not very expensive. It's reversible. If you screw it up, you can take the finish off and you can go back to your black anodizing. The anodizing is really tough. You can just put some paint thinner on there, remove the paint, and you're back to your black rifle. It's going to take some detail work in all the nooks and crannies. It may not come all the way off of your plastic, so it's not totally 100% reversible. So keep that in mind. It may not come off of the plastics. It's fairly durable. It's tough. It's really conducive to a Battleworn finish because it is not as tough as anodizing or a Cerakote or a Duracoat or KD coat. But since we're doing a Battleworn finish and all your high wear areas are going to be worn, scratched, dinged anyway, it's really kind of conducive to that. It's also really nice to be able to do all of your accessories in the exact same shade and the exact same tone. All of you guys that have played in the FDE world know that there's a million different shades of FDE, and when that's a shade or two off right next to each other, you can see that it's glaring. It'll drive an OCD guy nuts. So this finish is this is my Grendel rifle, and it has a Battleworn orange and black. But that came as a builder set, so my upper, lower, and my handguard are Battleworn, but my buttstock, my buffer tube, my grip, and any of my accessories are not. And trying to match that with some Rattlecan to do it yourself is pretty problematic. So in order to have this done to match, then I'd have to send those accessories off, and that can be pretty expensive. So that's kind of the beauty of doing it with the Rattlecan, is that you can do it yourself in the comfort of your own home. Do your scopes, do your light. If your light fails, you still have stuff left over in your can. You can redo whatever other accessories that you want afterwards. So those are kind of the pros. The cons: it's not as durable as Duracoat, and so it's gonna wear off eventually. It's not that big of a deal if we're doing a Battleworn finish. The other cons are what you like in a color selection may not be what a purchaser would like. So if you're planning on finishing your rifle and then selling it, you're probably going to take an actual hit. You're going to spend money to make your rifle worth less. So I wouldn't want to do this to a rifle that I didn't plan on keeping in my collection forever, because what you're doing is probably actually devaluing it. You're not increasing the value of it. So if you're not concerned about that, like I'm not, then it's definitely a thing to do. But keep that in mind if you're thinking that you're going to trade off your whatever the firearm is. Don't Rattlecan it. Keep it stock. And I think that pretty much sums up the pros and the cons of why we would and wouldn't want to. So let's get to the steps. Your first step in this process is to have a crystal clear, perfectly precise theme. You have to have everything imagined out of what you're going to do before you even get started so that you can plan ahead accordingly. So this rifle, I'm going to tell you what my theme is. This has the Hellbreaker lower, and I got that because I'm a fan of the A10 Warthog. It has this little face that was machined into the lower receiver, and my first step in the theme was to paint the teeth and the tongue and the eyes and the eyebrows. That really didn't go as great as I wanted to. It just kind of ended up being cartoony looking. And that's the reason you guys probably haven't seen this on FMO very much before. I think I've shown some pictures on our Facebook page. But the theme that I'm going to do that's going to bring this to life is I want this to be a battle-worn A10 Warthog. Now, you have to be really precise in your whole idea. This plane that I'm envisioning has been through many sorties. The reason it's battle-worn is because it has not had any time for any kind of cosmetic maintenance. It has been flying sorties in defense of our great republic day, night, 24/7. So this particular A10 that I'm modeling this build after has been painted woodland camo, and that camouflage through scrapes through trees and going after the bad guys has been worn away. The A10 was built around a very cool gun. It's shot a lot of rounds, so I envision the front end of this having a lot of smoke coming back, some residue, charred residue, as it's been shooting that massive 20mm cannon and then flying through the smoke. So what I envision is this is going to have a base coat of silver, just like the aluminum skin on the A10. It's going to have an overlay of woodland camouflage, and then that's going to be battle worn, and we're going to have a smoky residue that's coming from the front as this has flown through the smoke from the cannon. So first, establish your theme and your premise for the build. Once you have a crystal clear theme, premise, and color scheme picked out, the next part is going to be prep. That's kind of the annoying part. What I'm going to do in this one is I want to keep the barrel underneath. I want to keep that in its stock stainless. So I'm going to take the handguard off, paint that separate. I'm going to take the light off. I'm going to mask off the muzzle device. The muzzle device is going to get the silver base coat and then some camouflage and then some soot on it later. This ACOG is done time in the sandbox. It's already battle worn, but I'm going to mask off the lenses. I'm going to mask off the light gathering fiber optic on the top, and then pretty much we're just going to paint it. We're going to do some surface prep, wiping everything down with some denatured alcohol to help the Rattlecan paint set. So let's get to it. Well, now we have some kind of macabre wind chime here. So I masked off everything that I wanted to mask off, and so I've masked off the Hellbreaker face features and the eyes around there. I've masked off the lenses on the scope and the light, and that's pretty much it. I masked off the barrel. We're gonna shake this Rust-Oleum hammered. I'm using a hammered aluminum. I used a hammered copper on the steampunk gun. I've used the hammered Rust-Oleum. It's kind of like hammerite. I've had great experience. It's really tough. The only downside is it may be a little bit thick, so when we go to mount the scope back up, we're probably going to have to scrape a lot of the paint off of some of the rail surfaces in order to get a good and positive engagement. That's a negative of using the Rattlecan. But you definitely want to shake this up, make sure it's warm, follow the directions, And this is the last chance, folks. This is your last chance to go back. You can't go back from here. Once you press this button, you screwed up your gun. So here we go. And there we have it. It's the very start of it. The next step is the most important, folks, is the waiting. You have to wait. We want this to cure and cure hard. So I'm going to let this hang for over 2 days and let this base coat harden and fully cure before I move anywhere else. So I'll turn your camera back on and we'll go on with the next coats in a couple of days. Oh, hey folks, it's Tuesday. We looked at the instructions on the can. It says wait 48 hours before another coat. I painted on Sunday, so it's been about 52 hours. Nope, I can still feel a slight tack on the paint. My experience has shown that if we're going to do a battle-worn or distressed finish on this, then we need to have this base coat fully hard and cured. If not, the next layer it kind of makes a gummy bond to it, and then when we go to distress it, it's not gonna work right. It's not gonna turn out good. You also have the danger of we're using 2 different styles of paint. We're using a flat camouflage and this hammered paint. We could end up with some inadvertent weird stuff going on, some eggshell cracking or something, which might be a cool effect, but it's not what I'm looking for. I really want to get on this, get it done, but I know that it would be smart for me to just wait. So I'm just going to let this stuff hang one more day, and then we're going to put the base coat on tomorrow. Stick around. Oh yeah, that day made a big difference. It feels glossy and hard, and that's what I want. So our next step is I'm going to paint everything disassembled like it is with some of this green. It's a lighter green. This is the Rust-Oleum Camouflage Army Green color. This is going to be the base coat. I'm going to paint everything with this, and then we're going to assemble it, mask some stuff off, give it a kind of a big blocky camouflage. Not really blocky, but big blobs. Not a lot of small stencils, just kind of a big camouflage to break up the outline of it. Well, that base coat dried and I couldn't stand it anymore. I wanted to start camouflaging this thing. So what I'm doing is just masking off pieces. I looked online and I found some diagrams for the A10 and the camouflage patterns that they used. And so I kind of took that into consideration and in mind. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking some of this masking tape, laying it out, peeling it off, laying it out on a piece of cardboard, and then just putting a swirl in it as I go down it. Kind of a wavy, natural, organic pattern, so that I have a wavy, natural, organic pattern instead of a sharp edge. And the nice thing about that is it gives us a nice sharp edge on the other side to add more masking tape to. So you can see the rounded profile that I have here. I painted this brown. You can see this middle section masked. That's, of course, is going to be green. I'm going to put some dark OD green on this and the hand grip right now. You know, the rule is the more time you spend masking and in prep work, the better results you're going to have. The problem is this is not very fun, and I'm usually a slacker. So don't be a slacker like me and pay extra attention in your masking. It'll pay off at the end. Since I said that, I'm going to put some more tape up here. Well, that progressed quickly. You know, you got a short window of time where you can work with this. Between coats, you either have to recoat within 2 hours or a pretty short amount of time, or you have to wait 48 hours again. So since we're applying so many colors, I didn't want to, this would be like a 6 or 7 or 8 more day project. So I found that the flat actually dries to the touch and you can mask and paint it pretty quick. So frankly, I just got after it. So the rifle, I put all the green on the individual components, let that dry to the touch, assembled the rifle because I wanted some of this camouflage to be a big theme that blended all of the parts together. And now I'm going to apply this gray. And there's that. I'm going to let this dry for about an hour maybe, and then I'm going to peel off the masking tape. Alright, everything is cured for a couple of days. And if you looked at it right now, you would think it looks kind of crappy and half-assed and half-baked. It looks like a amateurish camouflage job, which it kind of was. You know, I didn't spend a giant amount of time on the masking. On the masking edges, you have to be super tight and pay close attention to that. And you know, I just kind of didn't spend a ton of time on that because I knew we were going to make this step. So right now, it's okay. You can look at the pictures, but I don't really like it. What we're going to do next is what brings the Battleworn and the distressed look to it. And this may seem counterintuitive, but this is the step that's gonna make it look like I envisioned it. And I'm just going to fog this thing with black, and then I'm going to wipe it down, kind of like what we did with the gray. And that's just to get some black in all the nooks and crannies, to give it a dirty, worn, not the best taken care of, not detailed, not polished, just kind of grungy look. So we're just going to give her a light coat of black and then wipe it down. And I'm going to work in sections here. So I've got my rag. To get her wiped down before the paint dries and cures. And what we're simulating is this thing's been through fire and battle and work, and it's been wiped down to get inspected, but it hasn't been detail polished, and that's the look I'm trying to convey here. So you want to do small segments like I did because this flat paint dries pretty quick. So just a high level rub down like that does a natural job of getting the high spots, but not the nooks and crannies. and it's working. This is looking like I want it to. These rags are just moistened down with some water and a little bit of rubbing alcohol. You're wondering how I hung the rifle. I just have a knot in the end of a piece of cord. This rifle doesn't have the bolt in it. Now, if you get a spot that the black dried too fast for you, you can take a solvent. I like this Remington Action Cleaner, and spray that on a rag. Just get it kind of just a little bit damp, not running soppy, but then just wipe it down with that, and that solvent will cut through that paint. You don't want it super soppy, wet, and runny, because it could affect the base coat underneath. Just spray some on the rag. Good spot here. I want a little bit more reveal there. All right. So now we're gonna fog the next section here. All right. Now we're gonna keep working our way up. Do the front of the magazine, the front of the Hellbreaker a little bit more. That's what I'm talking about. So just a few minutes ago, this looked cartoony and I didn't like it. Now, it looks not so cartoony, but more graphic novelish, and I dig it. So the mechanical, or the paint patina has been applied, and I really like that. Our next step is going to be to apply mechanical patina. And we're just going to grab a Scotch-Brite pad and rub down the natural high spots, bring out some of that silver base coat that we had here, and I think this is going to be epically cool. So far, I'm really digging it. I hope the next step doesn't screw it up. Let's go get a Scotch-Brite pad and try. So now for the mechanical distressing, what we're going to do is basically just work the high spots. We want it to be natural, so we're just gonna. That's why we use a soft, flexible, Scotch-Brite pad, and we're just gonna work the high areas. And what I want to do here is wear through some of this color, and I want to bring out some of that silver, if I can do that. So we're just going to start here, and hopefully just keep rubbing until we get through the green here and get down to the silver. If this paint is too tough, I might upgrade a little bit to some sandpaper. And I think that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to go grab a little bit of sandpaper. Oh wait, I can see it. Can you see it coming through? I'm going to get some sandpaper to get us through on some of this thicker paint. I've got some 120 grit emery paper here, and some 220 grit. I'm going to get this high spot here on this fence on the receiver. I'm going to knock that down with a little bit of this 120. Well, it's done. And I can tell you that I am super happy with how it turned out. As you know, if you ever thought about doing this, there's a little bit of trepidation of taking a fine firearm like this and then just getting after it with some cheap old Rattlecans from Walmart. But I am super happy with how this turned out. There were a couple of things that didn't necessarily come out like I thought they were. You know, the silver base coat didn't show up as much. But the beauty of this is this patina is going to deepen and become more natural with time and scrapes and use, and it very well may come out as this paint wears over normal time. So I do not regret doing this at all. I'm super happy that I did. I think it was great. If there was only one regret that I might have, it might be that that maybe I didn't do this invest in the equipment and do this in a KG coat or a Cerakote or something. But I really like this. It's reversible. If I didn't like it, I could clean it off and go back to the way it was. But I'm not gonna, because I love it. So if you like it or if you hate it, feel free to comment in the comments below. And if you liked this video and you found it to be informative, please give us a subscription, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, comment below in the description box. As always, you can't take back a bullet. You never ever want to wish that you could. Follow the 4 basic safety rules, folks, and we'll see you on the firing line. Thanks for watching.